It is another Light News Radio. Self-empowerment for the whole human being. The place where sick and tired is no longer of oneself. Featuring your host, Dr. Richard Jelisich, and co-host Deirdre Layton. Together, they finish each other's sentences, laugh, and take you from feeling hopeless to overjoyed to rock your world. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. J and Deirdre.
Welcome, fellow light travelers, to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. Light News Radio brings you spiritually conscious, awakened people who are walking their spiritual talk. I am Richard Jelisich, also known as Dr. J, your host, and my spiritual frequent flyer co-host is Deirdre Layton. Together, we bring you grounded metaphysics, where the spiritual rubber hits the road, real-life teachings and applications that are grounded and relevant to you. Here you will find a safe harbor, a place where you can breathe fresh air of spirituality while avoiding the hype and the fascination. We are all about helping you to empower your life through understanding your true spiritual nature. So, come aboard our beam of light and enlighten your load as we travel the waves of knowledge and wisdom for the next hour. And what a show we have today, Deirdre. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, and I'm really looking forward to the show today because, we've got an old friend coming on, and it's going to be lots of fun. And I just think that today is going to be just an awesome, awesome show. We've had so much stuff on the go, and I know you've had a busy 2 weeks. I've had a crazy 2 weeks. And I'm so looking forward to the equinox coming up and that whole change of flow,
And you and I will be in Sedona at the equinox, so that's like doubly powerful.
Yes, our next show on the 21st will be coming live from us traveling to Sedona, Arizona, so it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
She's already feeling the vortexes, folks.
But what I want to let everybody know is, as usual, we are having a great show, and we really want people to tune in, tune up, tune on, whatever it takes, and call us on our toll-free number, which is 248-629-0921.
Because we have one in front of that.
Yeah, we have fabulous guests. They can answer your really hard questions. And of course, you can always, give Dr. J and I a hard time on live radio as well, if you so choose. And maybe we can put us on the spot for a question.
Yeah, there's a chat function you can go to that you can chat with us live online.
Yes, and I didn't open that this time, so thanks for announcing that.
You're welcome.
Because I have to sign in, of course, to Spreaker Radio, and that's where you'll find us, is on Spreaker Radio under the Bold Radio show hosts. So, the network is growing, and we're having lots of fun with it. So do check out Spreaker Radio, Bold Radio Station, and you'll find us, Light News, right there with a bunch of other really cool shows.
And that's Spreaker with an R.
That's right. And download us, save us, share us, just help us get the word out there so we can better help you as individuals out there. And that's what, it's all about is really helping the individual and getting everyone on a spiritual path of some kind, or just influencing their own personal spiritual path in a way that feels comfortable for them. And
I think that's really important, is a kind of a grounded spirituality, because, I used to do a newsletter years ago, starting around 1992. And even then I was talking about how things were speeding up for us. Time seemed to take less time to get something done. And then the time between changes also seemed to take less time. So it just seems that as we keep moving along here year to year, the events in our world seem to happen with such rapidity that I think, part of our work is how do we remain stable and calm within ourselves when it seems like there's a flurry around us. And certainly, you're in Calgary, Canada, Dee. You've seen snowstorms that look like they're blowing sideways. And,
We had a snowstorm last week.
yeah, well, it is beginning of September, right?
Yeah.
But
No, you're right.
One of the things we talk about, Deirdre and I on this program, we're coming up on 2.5 years of doing this show, is, even though it appears that things are speeding up, when a race of people has come before and they've attained super states of consciousness, they know where and when in space and time certain things are going to happen. And they knew that this era of 2012 would be an age of what the Hopis call the Great Purification. And so one of the reasons Deirdre and I started this program was to offer you the tools and techniques, and also in the person of very qualified guests like the one we have today, that can show you that by walking your talk, by applying grounded metaphysics, not only can you remain stable, but you can grow because of that spiritual stability in these times of great change.
Exactly. So everyone, listen up. It's the metaphysical hour. No.
And it just happened. Did you miss it?
But it's nice because you know what? We really try to bring guests on. And listeners, if you want to be a guest on the show, you're more than welcome to give us a shout at 877-242-5721 or email me at info@lightnews.org. And we're always looking for people who want to really share their life story and how they've, come into self-empowerment and self-realization, and because your stories are what helps everybody else. And so, that's really important. That being said, we've got a lot on the go. We will be in Sedona next week. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to do a plug for you because tomorrow night, you are offering free energy work and energy balancing in San Diego.
That's right. We're kicking off our twice monthly free energy work in San Diego.
And that is where?
It is at a place called the Tara Healing Center in Hillcrest, which is central San Diego. I think the address is 4315 3rd Avenue. Of course, if you ever need to see the calendar, you can go to our website, lightnews.org, Lightnaws, lightnews.org, and it's got a complete calendar of events that shows you when and where. So tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m., we will be offering free energy balancing work to the public, and we'll do so twice a month from here on out, as we have been doing in Calgary, Canada, for years now, Dee.
And we do that every second and fourth Monday of the month at a place called Family Matters in Northeast Calgary. And again, it is from 7 until 9, sometimes 10 p.m., depending on how many people come. And it's a lot of fun. And I would encourage you to come and meet me in person and get on a table and check it all out, because it's really cool stuff. And then
and by the way, Dee, that's Families Matter, not Family Matters. It's Families Matter. In case you guys,
did I do it again?
Well, just in case you guys are looking it up, it's Families Matter in the northeast of Calgary.
Yes, in the Trans-Canada Mall. Our calendar of events, you can scroll through it, you can move months, you can whatever you need to do when you're looking for things, and you can sort it for Canada events and U.S. events or international events, depending on what you're seeking. So, but you also have one other program that I really want to promote today, and that is on the 26th of September. You're doing a Q&A night at the
28th.
Is it are you sure it's the 28th?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay. So you're doing a Q&A night, and do you want to plug it?
Yes. 28th of September, which I believe is a Wednesday night, I will be at the International Professional School of Bodywork in San Diego, IPSB, a very fine school, been around for a long time, graduated many fine massage therapists and body workers, and it's a free Q&A evening. So if you feel like coming over and asking a few questions, I'm also going to be talking about how to clear the energy field, because I see a lot of people who are body workers, but I'm not always convinced that they do know how to clear the field after having worked on someone. So we'll have a free, open evening. Come and bring your really tough questions, and we'll have a great time. Starts at 6 p.m.
Okay, and next week, if you are in Sedona, we will be there taking well, I'm going on vacation, following Richard to Sedona, and we will be going on the Journey of the Sacred Heart meditation retreat, which is Richard's second annual retreat. So if you need to find us, send me an email at info@lightnews, and if you're living in the Sedona area or the Flagstaff area, maybe you can come and join us for ceremony, or come and meet us in person there as well. So, we're all over the place. We're doing the best that we can to bring you Light News Radio through the airwaves live, as like we are today, but of course in person in many places throughout Canada and the U.S. This weekend, I will be in Camrose, Alberta, Canada, and I will be assisting Richard as he teaches levels 12 and 13. And we are looking at downloading a program called Zoom so that we can get more and more of our programs out to more and more people. And I think that is really important. So, of course, contact me, 877-242-5721. Or call in live right now today at 1-248-629-0921. And we would love to answer any of those hard questions. Now.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's bring on our amazing guest.
All right. Paula Jackson, I've known now, but not as long as Dr. Jelicic has, but I've known her for quite a few months now, and we really hit it off with a lot of fun and some fun jokes and whatnot in San Diego. And she has a medical background and also has been with the Fortune 500 companies, and her thing is that she has developed a way to help individuals through a new therapy called light-guided imagery, healing light-guided imagery, and she is working on a proposal and concept with a research team to help those with MS. And I'm just thrilled because I know that she will be soon starting, or if she hasn't already, clinical trials and all kinds of wonderful things. So, Paula, are you there? Can you give us some more details on what your projects are?
Well, of course, Dee. Well, I'm very happy that I'm now on my. Let's see, it'll be going on to year 6, that there was a therapy I developed actually 17 years ago for myself, at first because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and told due to the severity of my case that I would be in a wheelchair in a very short time because I had lost my vision, hearing, walking. I had seizure tremors, incontinence.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in bed an average of 18 hours a day.
Wow.
And the person has a lot of time, and they're in bed 18 hours a day. And fortunately, due to my childhood background and specifically my mother, who always believed that we can do what Christ has done and more, that she just would reiterate, keep thanking God for your healing. And we prayed every day. And what was happening during the time of laying in bed was that I started to see visions of light, and of course metaphysically, and also in the movies or just the many, many books that are out regarding Saved by the Light, et cetera, is that light holds a very specific knowing in a person's heart. So I started the process, And within 3 months, my professional background, as Dee was talking about, is that I have a medical background that was rooted in startups in medical devices. I was part of the team that got the angioplasty and stents out into the world, and so I was in Europe and was involved in the clinical. Yeah, it was actually really fun to watch an entirely new industry evolve in front of my eyes. And so because of my background and then my diagnosis and then my prayers with my mom to bring it current, she said, well, you've got to show the world this works. And I said, are you suggesting I do a clinical trial, Mom? And
Absolutely.
She said, of course. And thank God my belief system is you can make the impossible possible, or seeming impossible possible. And so I ended up making a call, my very first call, being an entrepreneur. I went right to the money people in New York at the National Multiple Sclerosis Society and said, is this even worth my time? And I was given a yes. And so because of that, I got a lot of assistance from those in the field regarding possibilities, because fortunately for me, mindfulness just hit the research circuit, and they did a peer-reviewed paper. I think it was 2012 or 10. So my timing was perfect, because at least it already hit the radar, allowing consciousness to say, man, maybe this is possible. So what I did was I got a very high esteemed research team, and thanks to them, Dr. Paul Mills at the University of California and Dr. Revere Kinkle, who has the MS. It's in the entire, in fact, he's the highest referring neurologist in San Diego in general. And because of their support and their continued support and belief, because of our wonderful proof of concept results. Oh, Deirdre, you had asked about clinical trials. Yes, we did. How that works in science, I mean, everybody has rules, in different systems. And the first step is to demonstrate what's called proof of concept, which puts you on the radar. So we did that. It took a few years. I had no idea research takes this long, but it did. But we were successfully able. I mean, I'm glad I didn't know. I might not have. I don't know. My patients could have really. Yeah, isn't it funny how that happens? It's like you learn when you're supposed to learn. And so our proof of concept really got the attention of a lot of individuals, and because specifically with multiple sclerosis, there is, in addition to the many, many things that can go wrong physically, nobody in the entire research world really looked at what's called the comorbid or psychosocial symptoms, which is depression, number one, fatigue, and an overall health-related quality of life, or called HRQOL. So that's what we focused on, and the results were incredible, and they keep getting better as more data comes in.
So the therapy is called Healing Light Guided Imagery?
Yes, Healing Light Guided Imagery, affectionately known as HILGI.
Right,
with
HLGI.
The researchers in our team. Correct.
And this is at the University of California, San Diego, where you're doing the research, right?
Yes, the clinical trial. We're now standing by for a bigger trial, and which it should move forward. And what I'm really excited about is they're referring to HILGI as an integrated mindfulness, and most people are familiar with mindfulness these days. And what does integrated mindfulness means? It means that HILGI has demonstrated that it's faster, it's more effective, and it's a lot more fun. And so because of that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and so how does it work?
How it works is, in order to make sure I follow the rules of the hard rigors of science, I myself, which most people probably know, scientists have, and researchers all have MDs, PhDs, of which I do not. And so, but being an entrepreneur, you find your way. And so I ended up getting a certification in hypnotherapy, because hypnotherapy and meditation really are very similar indeed. In fact, if anything, it can help a person utilize and strengthen their ability to meditate. And so I ended up getting certified in hypnotherapy, and specifically how Hilgi works is there's a relaxation, which is fairly, common with most therapies. And then the next step is there is a framework, a very specific framework that takes the person to a place where they're able to connect their conscious, superconscious, and subconscious mind and completely let go. And it's customized per person, because the design is that every single person has that memory somewhere within themselves, that there is a power able to do anything. And I call upon that I call it the intelligence of the light in the work, to call forward that which the person needs, knowingly or unknowingly, and to help them mentally, physically, emotionally. And the specific framework is repeated by the person. It's a 10-week therapy, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then by about the 7th session, I put them on what's called fast track. And what fast track is that they can repeat exactly what I did in a 15-minute time frame or less. That way, it's a take-home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Self-empowerment.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, completely self-empowerment. In fact, I believe you give somebody a fish, you feed them for dinner, just like Christ said. You teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime, and I let everybody know my therapy is about the results, not the hours. If you have to see me again, I didn't do my job. So after this therapy...
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just going to say, how did you actually measure results? Because I'm thinking that some of it's quantifiable, blood tests and things like that, but some of it must be not really quantifiable, right?
Well, there's most people have heard, or at least have probably, caught wind of cognitive behavior therapy, mindfulness, cognitive behavior therapy. And there's a variety of others that have hit the radar. And so what we had to do is there's a series of measurements, and it's a questionnaire that all the patients in the clinical trial fill out relating to their quality of life, depression, the Beck depression module. So it's very, very tight and very specific in science. There's 3 or 4 tests that were taken and put into it's a screening process for the clinical trial, and to see exactly where they are in their MS journey, whether they're in the relapsing, remitting, whether they're primary, progressive, secondary, etc. And so then all those measurement tools after 10 weeks are then taken again to see exactly where they are. And what we have been able to identify is that with the comorbid psychosocial symptoms, depression being number 1 with the latest data, we have successfully decreased depressed mood by 75%.
Well, that's great.
So ideally, what you could say then is you are bringing metaphysics and science together.
Well, fortunately, the principal investigator, one of the first things I ever heard him say at the California Institute of Humanistic Science when I went there and learned about you, Dr. J, was that science and spirituality, it's finally time for them to meet. And I believe my therapy is building a bridge for that, because according to the researchers right now, my therapy is the actual only one on the entire research horizon that has been able to bridge this.
No,
and
that's wonderful.
So that's one. Yeah, well, well, thanks, Mom. I mean, when she asked me to do this years ago, I was like, holy Lord. But as you say often in your intro, Dr. J, and listening to you and Dee talk, it's just time. You've watched the years continue, and now there's enough collective consciousness out there that it must be. And so it's becoming so. And so I'm very, very happy to be a pioneer, to be able to say, wow, I'm watching this happen. I mean, watching this happen and manifest.
And not only that, you are a prime example of that it works.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about it is, in order for me to have the researchers even believe at the very beginning, I had to prove it myself. And so after I did my own therapy after the first 3 months, I just said, hallelujah, woohoo, and I just started traveling again. I just kind of forgot about the whole, I have MS thing. And then it creeped back into my consciousness that I had to demonstrate this. And so, look, the pudding's in the proof. And so I got another doctor, a third neurologist, who was completely unaware of a lot of the circumstances. And I said I needed another MRI to demonstrate that I have slowed the progression, because a neurologist, and God bless them, medical I respect, they can't say that you're in remission. It's just not in their vocabulary. But it is in their vocabulary to say you've slowed the progression. And so I asked this particular doctor, in my case, what's the possibility that I've slowed the progression? He said, it's impossible. And so I had to ask him about 3 or 4 times and 3 or 4 different ways, and said, give me an example that you can't explain, And all of a sudden, the MRI, and they're like, wow, how'd she do that or he do that? And so finally he said, due to the severity of your case, 1 to 3% tops. And so I did it.
Wow.
I did it.
Most impressive.
Well, thank you, and thank God. Really, it's through my belief system, it's through the Christ within that anything is possible. Although I can't mix religion and science. But the good news is, yes, it's the thing about it is, because the barriers are now becoming a little more gray, if not a lot more gray than they used to be, is that, and specifically, I went out of my way to work with atheists, and a lot of scientists are agnostic, and then Christian-based, Jewish. I mean, I hit every single religion.
Every sector,
The results, every one, and the results are the same.
What's interesting is, I love your comment, because, there are so many different modalities out there, which all stem back, when you really put the effort and the work into it, to that inner knower and that inner healer, that what we have within us, right? Yeah. And what I find amazing is that for centuries and for thousands of years, Aboriginal people and people of many different cultures in many different countries have all talked about that inner knower and that inner healer within themselves. And so, through your work and through other people's work in bringing this forward, I think is amazing, because it really shakes the system in such a way that they have to look. They can't say any longer, well, We don't know.
And for years it was
Yeah, good
considered
point.
pseudoscience, and they wouldn't even fund it because they thought it was so fringe. And now, because science at its core is a relentless pursuit of truth to whatever end it leads, they have to start
Mhm.
looking at the spiritual model, because people are asking the really tough questions, and they're willing to do the research that says, okay, well, I know this is a qualitative state that can't readily be quantifiable, but can it be quantified in another way? So we can't observe metaphysics directly, but we can observe it scientifically indirectly. So now you've got all these studies going on nowadays, of which yours is like a preeminent one, because you're getting published, right?
Yes. The timelines. In fact, the co-inventor is my husband, and we have a patent pending right now. And the timelines to make it real and to hit all the different milestones. The biggest one is what researchers call a peer review paper. And that means it'll be the equivalent of an international commercial to make it real amongst the entire world of
Right.
research. And in order to get the peer review paper, there was very, very specific details we had to complete, of which are in process of completion, and the paper is now scheduled approximately to be out by year end. So that milestone will change the entire complexion of how spirituality and science are now in dialogue with one another.
Wow. So
And
listeners, I was just going to butt in.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Listeners,
Do it,
you're
Dee.
listening to Paula Jackson. And Paula Jackson is coming live to us from San Diego, California. And she is the developer, the person the entrepreneur who has developed the therapy called Healing Light Guided Imagery, or HELGI, at the University of California. And
San Diego.
we're in University of San Diego, California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. UCSD.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, my brain over the last couple of weeks is still trying to get
You're
words and
working
numbers
just
in the
fine.
right
You're
order. But
You're doing just fine, Dee.
yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a plug for you, because I know that this work is important to you, and I really know how important it is for individuals out there who are fighting MS or fighting other debilitating diseases, or I don't even want to call them diseases.
Well, other infirmities, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to know how people can get in touch with you if they want more information, or to find out more what you do, or to connect with you.
Oh, well, I am a very open person. Every case, I think, is specific, and I specialize every single person's need. And I invite you to call me directly. I'm old school that way. I like face-to-face or voice-to-voice. And my cell here in San Diego is 858-610-0118. And
what is that?
we're
And what is
talking
that
about
again, please? One more time.
858, sure, 858-610-0118. And we're talking about healing light guided imagery, HILGI. You can also go to the website to see all the media and all the research and all the statistics that are formally been done at gethilgi.com, which is GETHLGI.com, gethilgi.com. And I'm at Paula at gethilgi.com, of course. And it might be a good time, which I think you guys probably know through Tara Healing Center, that I was asked if I would look at and take other cases that were anxiety-oriented or pain-oriented or depression-oriented or post-traumatic stress disorder. I did that at the very beginning, like 15, 20 years ago, and I didn't revisit it until I was asked the Tara Healing Center. And the ultimate goal is for UCSD to be the Hilgi hub, which I'm in connection with the department over there at UCSD to look at making this so, and to then move into the other ailments or infirmities, as you called them, to see how we can assist. And I think the reason, if I was to make it, I'm all about the KISS theory, keep it simple, sexy. And that is, if anybody has a less depressed mood by 75% in and of itself, and begin to believe that the impossible is possible and they can find that power within themselves. And I call upon the intelligence of the light is what I speak about, because the intelligence of the light can actually bypass every single part of the human mind, the rational mind, etc., and just go to the cause. And then the improvements begin. We've been able to successfully demonstrate an individual, especially MS-oriented, one of the number one issues is their gait. Oh my God, am I going to lose my ability to walk? Then it's the cane, then the walker, then the wheelchair. And so their mind, Hilgi helps them stop going down that road.
Yeah.
That neuroplasticity, which has been proven in science through mindfulness, if you over and over and over believe one thing, the mind doesn't know the difference between what it's real, what it believes, because it's one and the same. And so the neuroplasticity of the therapy interrupts the person's own dark thoughts, negative thoughts, or thoughts that don't serve them and is really not real.
Right.
And it bypasses. And then they themselves, I help people remember what they already know. And that's the number one thing I say all the time. You have all you need. You are all you need. I just help you remember that. And the therapy, I call it, it's the trademark is a spa day for the mind, because it's that.
Very
it's fun.
nice.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Very
Buddhists
cool.
talk about nature mind, that the mind is actually beyond your thinking thoughts, and that you already have a quote-unquote divine blueprint within you that already knows what to do. And, healers like yourself simply help people access something they already possess.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I like about it, it's a tool that once you have it, you always have it. And I have Hilgi meetup groups with what I call the original Hilgi team. And that was the very first 10 that made the clinical trial proof of concept possible. So we have our meetup groups, and we do exchanges. And the last exchange was really, really good from the standpoint, one of the MS they use different terms in research. They don't call them patients, but regardless, one said to the other, "You mean you use this more for mental? I only use it for physical." And the other, so the dialogue was, if you can change your mind in anxiety, because one gal, she is an ER nurse at UCSD, and she's got a lot of pressure. And so she just uses Hilgi to just calm herself. Another one demonstrated how she, because balance is affected with multiple sclerosis, she actually not only fell, but she had like a faceplant fall.
Oh, wow.
And so, it was rough. And she's an attorney, and so she had to go to court the next day, and the judge was looking at her. And she took a picture of what it looked like. She went to the ER. She even had a neck brace on. She used Hilgi to see how fast she could help heal herself. She took a picture in 3 days. You couldn't even tell. Usually scabs, it takes a while, for them to heal and then come off, and then you've got the bruising. In 3 days, it was like it never happened, Dr. J.
Well, you had
It
touched
was
on the
wonderful.
archetypes, right? That yes, she used this Hilgi for physical restoration, but the idea of the whole human being, quote unquote, is four archetypes: the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional. And this is what we
Mm,
refer to as the whole human being. So, what I'm inferring from what you're saying, correct me if I'm
mm,
mistaken, is that
hmm.
Hilgi accesses all four of these archetypes in a person.
You know what? I never really put it that way, but that's exactly. In fact, I'll use your words. I mean, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Dr. J.
Yeah.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
what it does.
hmm
Right.
And so that's where this type of work is seminal in the field, because when science can verify that something that's not necessarily quantitative but qualitative actually has this effect, some of it measurable, some of it not entirely measurable, that this is verification and validation of the metaphysical nature of the human being,
Yeah.
that this is real. And God bless science for asking the really tough questions. The thing is that once they find the truth, well, now you have to change your paradigm because you've discovered a higher truth than that which you had before. And that's why, we look at you, Paula, as a pioneer in this field, because you are the one saying, well, look, here it is. It's real, it's valid, it's verifiable, it's repeatable, and people are getting results.
Hmm.
Here it is.
And you have to
Oh,
own it.
thank you.
Once you are
Hmm.
given that gift, you have to own it, because if you don't own it, it's not going to do you or anybody else any good, right?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Dee, because when individuals hear about Hilgi, they're very smitten, and when they call and ask questions, then I'm always happy, which is why I gave you my cell on the show right now, to
Mm-hmm.
go through exactly what the desire is. And I say it very often: if I want this more for you than you want it for yourself,
It's not going to work.
then
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. It doesn't. You have to own it. You have
That,
to own it. And everybody, it's not hard. It's just you have to say yes and receive.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
it really is that easy, but it's so hard for humans sometimes to just do that.
oh, heaven, Jess. Oh, my. Especially if it's outside the realm of what is, quote unquote, normal.
I was
You
just going to
know?
say that. Yeah. Yeah. People have this ideal, or idea, and that's what happens. People just don't realize that so many things can happen in your lifetime, but you are always given the free will of choice.
Mm-hmm.
You are always given that gift to empower yourself and to move on.
And I want to clarify something also, Paula. We talked about how to get a hold of you and all of that. But can someone come to you for one-on-one?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Dr. Kinkle, he's the MS. He's the director of the MS clinic over at UCSD. He specifically asked me if they're not from San Diego, if I will please Skype to make it a smaller world. I have a gal actually in Maryland right now. I Skype, so that's possible if they're on the East Coast or anywhere in the world, really. I've Skyped Germany, I've Skyped Holland. And if you're in San Diego, UCSD and their support of the work, I have a physical office at the medical center in Hillcrest. I also have another office in La Jolla on campus there. And
At
also,
UCSD.
yeah, UCSD, and then I have access to the Terra Healing Center as well. With all the activity there, it's nice that I have two other spots.
Right.
So location is not a problem.
So the best way to reach you then would be 1-858-610-0118, or you could email her at Paula, Paula, at GETHLGI.com. It's better to spell it.
Get Hilgi, yeah.
Get
It
Hilgi.
is.
It's better to spell it.
Because it sounds like you're after some German woman then, otherwise. Get Hilgi.
I've got a good friend, from Austria. She's going to laugh about that. Her name's Hildegard. So, yeah, you're right. You know what? You're right. Oh, that's funny. That's funny, Dr. J. And, one thing before it slips my mind is, because we were talking about Dr. Kinkle, and, boy, am I such a fan of him. And just how he really is, when I had one of my Hilgi meetups, he sat with every single one. A dear friend of mine, Chef Candy Wallace, is an Escoffier chef. And so she put together a low-inflammatory dinner for UCSD and the doctors. The executive vice chancellor and his wife came. And Dr. Kinkle interviewed every single person and said, well, tell me, what was your therapy like? What was the color,
Nice.
of the light that you saw? How did you do this and how did you do that? And I asked him, I said, Dr. Kinkle, how would you explain, from your perspective and vast neurological experience, how and what this therapy does? And he
Really?
put it in one of our, yeah, I did. And he used a word I'd never even heard about before. In one of the grant submissions, he says, well, there's two ways that humans find pleasure. Most everybody is familiar with the senses or hedonistic. The other, the higher mind, it's eudaimonic. I never heard that word.
Wow.
Say it again.
Is eudaimonic. It's EUDAMONIC, I think. Eudaimonic.
Wow.
And, I'm a journalism major. I never heard that one. And eudaimonic is when people go to a whole different source greater than themselves. And for him to make that comment, just goes to show, by the grace of God, that's how everything lined up. And I was reading a book yesterday, and for, your listeners right now, and I kind of smiled. It's like, if your goal isn't seemingly impossible, it's not hard enough. So go back to the drawing board, because you're here to do something very special. We all are. And you're here to take a place that nobody else can take. You're here to fill a gap that nobody else can fill but you. Right. And so when he said that, I was just, I think about that often when I have my own moments, which we all do, of, oh, God, what is this going to look like? But fortunately, as I mentioned, now I'm in the clearing zone with the patent pending, the peer-reviewed paper will be published, then it'll be all over the world. And we're going into angel funding now and other different ways. Angel funding is, I'm talking to a couple firms right now regarding when you're a startup organization and you're looking to obtain different stages of funding. Most people are familiar with venture capital firms, but actually angel firms do a lot more with startups. They're more, in my opinion, they're a little more less stringent. They know that inventors, co-inventors, and new technologies, that's just why they're new, is because they're coming out of the box from a whole different perspective, which is the unknown. And so the angel firms come in, and specifically how it's done is a variety of different ways. We are now talking to either individuals, or we're talking to angel firms, or we're connecting with people to do an equity exchange is what it's called. And how that works is, like, my corporation, the valuation's probably about 1.5, we're thinking, million. But there has to be so much work. And when, you hear about those great companies that you never even knew they existed, the Facebooks or the this or the that, and then you have a percent of equity, and then they get sold or they go international, all of a sudden, your money is worth 1,000 times more than when you invested it. And so that's where we are right now, so that I can specifically pull a team together and a strategic partner together in order to make this not only domestic and but worldwide as well. So that's
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, more power to you. More power to you. And the nice thing about these, before you do that, one of the things our listeners need to know is that these shows are recorded, and you can go on Spreaker with an R, Spreaker, anytime under Bold Radio Station, and you can get this program download to your phone, so you can listen to Paula's wonderful information, over and over until you really get it seeped into your being that there are pioneers out there in the world on the leading edge that are in fact doing this work.
And it also will be live upload to our website, www.lightnews.org. And tomorrow, Paula will receive the link for the show herself and be able to use it on her own website. So there are many, many ways that you can listen to us, share us, and download us. Paula, what would be a tool that you would offer or a self-empowerment phrase or something that you would give to our listeners today?
I would, every time, because I call upon the intelligence of the light, and Hildy's a spa day for the mind, whenever you see a color that stands out to you and gets your attention, to ask the intelligence of the light to come forward into your being and to be able to provide you, as Dr. J said, whatever it is you need to know in that moment, be it spiritual, emotional, mental, or physical. I think I got them all.
Yeah, you
did. Thank you. And when you call upon the intelligence of the light and a specific color, and Dr. J does vast teaching of the chakras, make note, if a color stands out, look at the reason behind the metaphor of what that light is indicating in your chakra systems and energy systems, and what is it related to is what you need to know in that moment. So when you do that introspective work, that you can do that in just a blink of an eye and say to yourself, gee, I'd really like to be aware of what I need to know right now. See a color, and as you see the color, you can go further into Dr. J's work and what Deirdre's doing, and see how it pertains to what part of your body needs some wisdom at that moment. And it's instantaneous, it's easy, and the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Lovely.
Wow.
What a beautiful, beautiful tool.
Thank you.
Very
you
most
so
impressive,
much.
Paula.
Yeah.
Well, we sure do
thank you guys.
Well, we sure do thank you for being on the show. We do have to move along. Deirdre's got a raft of announcements to make, but if anybody wants to get a hold of Paula, what is that telephone number one more time, please?
My cell number, 858-610-0118, 858-610-0118, and then Deirdre, you spelled Paula at Get Hilgi, which is probably smart. So,
yeah, and it's Paula at gethlgi.com. Thank you so much, Paula, for being on our show today.
Yeah,
my pleasure. Lots of love and hugs, guys. Thanks for having me on. Have a beautiful rest of the day.
You too.
All right.
Healing light, guided imagery. Amazing, Dee. Okay, so you've got announcements.
Do I?
Boy, do you ever.
It's hard to come back into reality after such a great show. It's just, wow. What a great guest. So, and listeners, please, you know what? Download, share, and also, even if you yourself don't want to be on the show, but you know somebody who might want to be on the show, get a hold of us, But anyhow, as we move along today, we have October is going to be what
Jam-packed.
I would call a damn crazy month. So the first Saturday of October, Dr. Richard Jelicic will be teaching in person in Canada, but via Zoom throughout North America and internationally. Those that are interested, that are graduates of his program, Intuitive Flower Reading. On the 2nd, again through Zoom, he will be teaching, which is the Sunday, he will be teaching the art of tarot, and he teaches how the tarot cards work and how tarot readings work in a one-day workshop, which is guaranteed to work for you. And you've been teaching this for over 30 years, and so it's just amazing.
Yeah, and that's in person and by remote. So you don't have to be in town to take any of these courses.
No, he is going to be in Calgary doing private sessions and workshops for anyone who would like to book a flower reading workshop or a past life reading workshop for a minimum of 6 people and a maximum of 10. Of course, you can book them in San Diego or in San Jose when he's there. And additionally, he can do them via Skype. So if you are living in Kalamazoo and want to host Dr. Jelicic for a evening event, give me a shout at 877-242-5721 or email me at info@lightnews.org and we can set something up. On the 29th of October, which is a Saturday, Dr. Jelicic will be teaching mediumship. He will be teaching on the Sunday a public event, Doors to the Higher Consciousness. It's a discussions with Dr. Jelicic from 10 till 4 p.m. at Families Matter in Northeast Calgary. We will be recording it, so those that cannot be there in person, you can still pay for the event. It's $30 for the whole day, and we will be able to get you the recording of the day. So those are October's workshops. It's going to be an amazing month, and I'm just so excited about us being next week in Sedona for our meditation retreat.
Oh yeah, that's going to be huge.
And huge. Watch for early bird registration for next year's retreat because we will be.
Yeah, we sold out. We sold out for this retreat, at 20 people, which you really can't have more than that for a retreat. But we're already going to open up the space for next year, and my intuition is to just keep doing that. Of course, next year we also have a Kundalini Yoga and Chakra retreat in Costa Rica in April, and we have the Spirit of Plant Medicine Conference in Calgary next June. Details on Light News website, lightnaws.org, lightnews.org.
And of course, we will be coming to you next week from Sedona, Arizona. So on the 21st of September, we probably won't be able to do live call-in that day, but you can always download us and listen to us. And then on the 28th of September, we have author Diane Harding as our guest, and she will be coming to us from Vancouver, British Columbia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a great lineup. And also remember, free energy work, free energy balancing tomorrow night in San Diego, Thursday night from 7 to 9 at the Tara Healing Center in Hillcrest. In San Diego, every second and fourth Monday, in Calgary, every second and fourth Monday. In Calgary, every second and fourth Monday. In San Diego, every first and third Thursday. And if you forget all about that, just go to the website, lightnews.org.
And I'm just going to make one disclaimer that the next Monday's practice is canceled in Calgary because I will be in Sedona. So there you go.
Absolutely. Well, it all goes too fast when you're having fun. And we had a great guest today. And, Deirdre and I are always so appreciative that we even are able to do this work because it is something that we feel so compelled to do. As Paula said, let your reach extend beyond your grasp. And that has to do with faith, and have complete and total faith that your spiritual self is guiding you effortlessly and flawlessly. And of course, as always, may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the ever-present, ever-constant guide of your every intention, your every thought, and your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. And stay attuned, everyone.
Thank you for joining Light News Radio, where you are self-empowered for your whole being. Be sure to join us again in 2 weeks and connect with us at www.lightnews.org.